Tornado warning has been issued for Glynn County. The worst part of the storm is right about over the Brunswick area, and I'm going to paint where the strongest portion of the storm is headed. So think from Dixville Park, so that is just east-northeast of downtown Brunswick into the Jekyll Island area. This is moving to the northeast at about 40 to 50 miles per hour. Again, this is part of the same cell where it's radar indicated. So we want you to take it serious, but this is a storm in which the rotation is noted. We have not observed the actual tornado, but nonetheless, take it serious. For those of you in Glynn County, specifically the Brunswick area. So although I know it's right during rush hour, if you want an excuse to not get on the road, this is it. So from Brunswick on over to the islands, do not be on the road. Most dangerous place to be right now. And if you're in a building which has a couple stories, try to get lower on the building. So this is where the strongest portion of the storm is. There's rain all over this region. Again, we're talking about, here is I-95, here is downtown Brunswick, and the cell is right on you right now. Radar indicated. Hopefully most of that rotation will stay up high, but still could be producing some wind damage, could get down to the ground. The greatest concern is actually going to be from the bridges, and then heading over the estuary toward the island. So if you're in Brunswick out toward, if you're beyond, let's say, the downtown area, and then up toward I-95, heavy rains, but you're fine. But immediate downtown Brunswick, and then from the bridges and out toward the islands, the most dangerous place to be right now would be in a moving vehicle. Second most dangerous place would be in a vehicle. And then beyond that, try to be in the lowest floor as possible. Now, because we're talking about on the water, really downtown Brunswick, on the water to the islands, not too many basements there, I know. But try to be with your loved ones in the lowest floor and then away from windows due to a radar indicated tornado. Now, it includes Camden County as well, but we're primarily talking about the estuary region of Camden County. So my main concern, our main concern really would be for those of you in the downtown area of Brunswick, then in the marina region, and then the bridges and the causeways that get you over to the islands, and then finally the islands itself under a tornado warning. Now this is moving pretty quickly and will be offshore probably within about 15 minutes or so. So even if it ends up not being damaging for your area, why not? For the next 15 minutes, play it safe. Don't get in a vehicle. If you're in a vehicle or you have to be in the vehicle, the moving vehicle, the most dangerous place to be, and otherwise away from windows and as low a floor as you can possibly find. This is part of that larger system we're talking about. Plenty more rain on the way. For those of you in especially St. Johns, Flagler, and Putnam County, thunderstorms are still heading your way and intensifying, although at the present time we don't have any warnings. This tornado warning is from the same complex that we've been following since we saw some trees that were downed in Eccles County. That was it's been over 2 hours now. And then the strongest portion of the cell went through Clinch, portions of northern Charlton County, northwestern Camden. So this is why Camden County is under a tornado warning. But we're really talking about areas east of I-95, east of Woodbine, well north of St. Mary. So we're really talking about estuaries. So that's why I'm pretty hyper-focused over Glynn County. And we're talking about areas to the east of downtown Brunswick and over toward the islands. And because we're talking about such a densely populated area, what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to slow it down and let's do some analysis together of just what this storm is doing. So this is now over just the last 15 minutes and we'll slow it down. The motion is basically from the east toward the north. So that is from I-95 toward the ocean. I'll take some of this color out of here so you can see there's the worst portion of the storm, and if there's any type of rotation developing at all, there is in the upper level. So what I mean by that, folks, is there any rotation making it down to the ground? It's going to be right about there, and so that's why I'm mentioning the causeway on out toward the bridges. I'll zoom in even a little bit more, and as we do so, And there you see. So this is, now what you have to remember is that these radar pictures are sometimes as much as 5 minutes old. So what we really want to do as forecasters is to say the worst of the storm is actually probably right about here, and then racing off to the east and to the northeast. So here's a few locations, and this is why I'm primarily talking about the causeway, the bridges, and the islands, because although over Brunswick, there's no doubt you're receiving some very heavy rains, the worst of the storm is continuing to move. In fact, we'll put it into motion for you. You can be a forecaster with me. There you see the motion. So the heaviest of the rain is certainly right here over Brunswick. But the greatest concern for rotation and therefore wind damage, can you see why sometimes we use that term hook? It's right there in that hook. And so if we have any rotation and wind damage, it's going to be happening right about there from the causeway out toward the island. So again, if you're in Brunswick, don't take this lightly. Stay inside. Don't get on the road. But if you're having any type of debate and you're thinking about you need to get on the road, you need to get on the causeway and either go from the islands out toward Brunswick or from Brunswick and get on the causeway and head out toward the islands, wait about 15 minutes and this storm system will be offshore and out of here. Because as a reminder, there's a lot less friction with water, and therefore if you're going to be on the roadway, the most dangerous place on a roadway to be is going to be on a bridge, and that's because you're going to be over water where there is less in the way of friction. So again, if you're new to the area, that might be a lot of color zoomed in. So here's a pulled out view of what you're looking at here. So the tornado, there's Fernandina. There you see Darien off to the north, Waynesville off to the east, and the overall storm is working about like this pretty quickly, and we'll be offshore within about 10 to 15 minutes. So if you hold tight for 10 to 15 minutes, and beyond that, it is simply going to be rain. So as a reminder, and I'll take off the tornado watch so you can simply just see the tornado warning, and we'll take off the cone, and we'll even take off the severe thunderstorm warning, although that's significant. I really want you to focus on the tornado warning. Yeah, there you go. So there's the tornado warning. And again, Brunswick, no doubt about it, heavy rain and strong winds, but it sure does look like if this has rotation, it's going to be near the downtown area in the water and then heading offshore. Okay, we're going to go to a different radar presentation and see if we can, all I'm doing here, folks, is trying to get a signature for you and for me so we can get an idea of where maybe more rotation is visible with this system. And certainly the motion is off to the northeast. I'll zoom in a little closer for you here. And I want to remind you that because this is the National Weather Service radar, these pictures are delayed about, this is about 2 to 3 minutes. The picture isn't delayed, but because the radar is showing a sweep, you really have to project where the worst of this storm is. And so the worst of this storm, I think, is going to be right at about the foot of the bridge there at 17 and the causeway, and then headed off to the northeast. So towards that's why I'm saying the islands. If this is where the rotation is, then we're talking about St. Simon's Island by 5:22. But I would not be surprised if actually the storm continues to have a rightward bias. And what I mean by that is the worst of the storm may actually be working off to the east. And so that would include Jekyll and a few other areas. So why don't we do this? So the strongest portion of the storm, painting it about like this, and we'll move it that way, and we'll see what pops up there. Yeah, so there you see Jekyll, St. Simon's Island, and we're really just talking about for about the next 5 minutes, and then that is going to be offshore. So although the tornado warning goes until 5:30, really, for those of you that say you just need to get on the roadway, I really think if you just wait about 5 to 6 minutes, you'll be fine, outside of the fact that the rain and the rumbles will continue. Let's do a little more analysis, let me clean up the picture for you here. And we will try to paint for you some other ingredients that we look at. So this is something called the velocity. Yeah, so this shows us where winds are moving in different directions. So again, this is, because of the sweep, it's a couple minutes old, but this right here paints where the rotation, at least at 5,000 feet is. And that's what we mean by that when it's radar indicated, is radar shows it's close to the ground. And so at any moment it could come to the ground. And this is right at the foot of the bridge that goes from near downtown Brunswick and then where you take the causeway. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to take out all of that color, and I'm going to zoom in for just a moment so you can see. Now, those of you in Brunswick, I suspect you know what we're talking about here. So does that help? So, so the downtown area of Brunswick is DT for downtown, okay? And so these are some of the bridges going out, causeway going over, bridges going over. Notice this is a lot of estuary, so that's good news. But this is why I'm saying that if you're in the far southern part of downtown and you're thinking, you know, it's just another storm, why not wait 5 minutes? I just don't think you want to be going over any of those bridges or causeways that head east or southeast of downtown Brunswick. And I don't think you want to be on the islands, even if it's an emergency, to go from the islands and then back toward downtown Brunswick. All right, let's bring the colors back, so to speak. So there's the radar, and there is what you'll see is when this updates, it's going to take a jump here. I think this is doing a pretty good. There's the jump. So it continues to show. So the rotation now. So we were projecting forward. So now, if this is where really the rotation was about 2 to 3 minutes ago, and we're going to continue to be forecasters here together, then I'm going to project this rotation to be moving about like this. So if that rotation continues, you can see why we're talking about the causeways that go due east and northeast of downtown Brunswick towards St. Simon's Island and toward Northern Jekyll Island. You don't want to be on those in either direction. Now that's if that rotation continues. But suppose, and how about if I make it a different color here so we can make some sense out of it. Suppose, though, the storm is actually going to develop more to the east, then this is why even the causeway heading southeast and south of downtown Brunswick, I think you probably want to stay away from. All right, let's expand the picture because we do have storms going on elsewhere, but we really want to stay hyper-focused on that. But hopefully we've made the point that although you're hearing Camden and Glynn County are under a tornado warning, I really feel confident that if there is or will be some wind damage and/or a place you and your family absolutely don't want to be on a moving vehicle, it's going to be from near downtown Brunswick over the causeway to the islands, or if you're thinking about going the other way. And it's moving at 40 miles per hour. You can see the motion with me. You can see where the lightning is. So this just verifies that all of the action is well east of I-95 and heading out toward the islands. It's going to be the tornadic threat will be out of Brunswick within now a minute or two, and then it's going to be past the islands within 5 to 10 minutes. So literally, if you just wait till 5:30, outside of the heavy rain and gusty winds, I think you'll be in pretty good shape. And I'm just looking at different ingredients here that help us with what's going on with the storm. So again, there's the tornado warning till 5:30. A lot of color here. If nothing else, if your eyes are like mine, maybe they don't work as good as they used to. Follow the lightning and follow where the southeastern part of the lightning is, because that's where the storm is coming up against the winds coming off the ocean and where the most heat is. So if nothing else, I know there's a lot going on here. Focus on sort of the southeastern side or the right side of motion of where you see the lightning. And without using all that other vocabulary, we can say that's where the worst of the weather is, or the highest potential for rotation with that particular storm. So here's another way to look at it. There's where the color is, the most intense colors, and the lightning, and just all verifies what we're talking about, folks. So on the right side of this, think of it as a ball of energy. So on the right side of this ball of energy, if there's any rotation left with this storm, it continues to work off to the northeast. So it looks like we're not receiving a rightward bias right now. And that could be good news for those of you in Jekyll Island. But again, Jekyll Island up to St. Simons, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning.